petition number E013 of 2024. The parties to that case are Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, petitioner, and the County Assembly of Meru, respondent. The two parties now appearing before you and represented by counsel, as has been the case. If we turn to page number 31 of the Governor's volume number 2, there is a ruling of court which says the upshot of the above is that the impeachment process is halted pending my ruling, and since this matter is of public interest, the ruling on the interested parties and the main petition will be delivered on 29th July 2024 via email to all parties. It is in the public domain that that ruling was not delivered on that day and is still pending delivery, and this order remains in force. As a matter of principle, I invite senators to reflect on this question, because the governor has been brought here by the county assembly claiming that it wants to strike a blow for the rule of law. And yet we are here debating this matter in the face of an order reading, and I quote, "The upshot of the above is that the impeachment process is halted." As a matter of principle, distinguished senators, what position do you want to take on this matter? You are the judges. You will make the decision one way or the other. I have done my part as legal representative to my client. I have made full and candid disclosure that we may be perpetuating a violation of the rule of law. We may be. I am not the decision maker. I leave the eventual decision to your able hands, distinguished senators. Is this the way we shall grow our institutions? If a court of competent jurisdiction can make an order such as this, the county assembly proceeds in violation of this order. The governor has told you on her part, she has taken some action on this violation, and at page 35 onwards, you will see a contempt of court application that she has filed. She has done her part. The court will deal with that. Shall we, sitting here in good conscience and our attention having been drawn to these facts, perpetuate this process which on the face of it the county government has undertaken in violation of a valid court order? It is not for the governor, it's not for her council to make that decision. Distinguished senators, the heavier task lies with you to make a decision one way or the other on these questions of principle, touching on those specific paragraphs of those specific counts that I have alluded to, and on this impeachment process as a whole, as I have drawn your attention to page 30 of volume number 2 of the governor's documents. Let me proceed by addressing you briefly on the Public Audit Act. Distinguished senators, I beseech you, as you make this decision this evening, to be guided by the provisions of Section 53 and Section 54 of the Public Audit Act. I say this in summary in response to the multiple audit questions that have arisen in the course of this hearing. Time will not permit me to point at specific audit queries. Having been present here, we know those audit questions. Section 53 of the Public Audit Act has a side note entitled Implementation of reports. These are audit reports by an accounting officer. Implementation of reports by an accounting officer. Subsection 1 of Section 53 of the Public Audit Act provides, and I quote, "The relevant accounting officer of a state organ or public entity shall within 3 months after Parliament has considered and made recommendations on the audit report." So first, there is an audit report. 2, there is parliamentary consideration of the audit report. Then 3, there are actions to be taken, which are take the relevant steps to implement the recommendations of Parliament on the report of the Auditor General, or give explanations in writing to Parliament on why the report has not been acted upon. The law itself actually anticipates failure to act on those reports with reason. Honorable Senators, there is a principle in law called the subsidiarity principle. The subsidiarity principle in law dictates that a dispute must be resolved at the lowest institution competent to resolve it. So, for example, as a litigation lawyer, if I have a case that can competently be handled by the High Court, but when I look at the law, it can also competently be handled by a lower court, a magistrate's court, I am obligated to file that case in the magistrate's court, which is the lowest court competent to hear that dispute. We now know that the County Assembly of Meru has not exercised its mandate by seizing these reports and making necessary recommendations or steps to be taken to implement the report. Instead, it has picked the reports and come to this house with those reports. I want to believe, speaking for myself, that that is overburdening this very busy house. I want to suggest to you, Senators, that if you set a precedent here in these proceedings, that a county assembly can do that, it means that if we get a year where there are 47 county governments with some issues, and you know better than I do, that virtually every year, every county government has some issues in the audit report, it is possible for county assemblies to bring here 47 impeachment motions. I suspect that that may break the functional machinery of this house. I think that you better take a position in this matter that reminds county assemblies that they also have a role to discharge. To sit, invite relevant officers of the executive, interrogate audit reports, resolve disputes that can resolve there first, then come here with only such residues of issues that the relevant officers have proved to be incorrigible. That is my humble submission, distinguished Senators. There is a cadre of claims before you where I submit respectfully that the County Assembly is in fact the author of the problem. Then it has brought the governor here. The alleged failure to appoint chairpersons of the Meru County Revenue Board, Meru Microfinance Corporation, Meru Youth Service Board, and Meru County Investment and Development Board. I invite you to look at the correspondences at pages 53, 54, 57, 58, 60, 61, 62, 65, 67, 84, and the document at pages 85 all the way to 163, and the document at page 135 of volume 1B of the governor's documents. I will not read them, but save just to summarize that these are the multiple correspondence between the office of governor and the office of the clerk of the county assembly. There is no doubt, distinguished senators, that the governor nominated persons to these offices. If the governor did not furnish sufficient particulars, the county assembly had the option of rejecting those names. Just consider them and reject them, so that there is no jam in the system, so to speak. What has happened here is that for more than 1 year, the county assembly has engaged the governor's office in correspondence, but failed to make a decision on the chairpersons of these boards. And yet there is nothing the governor can do without the county assembly first making a decision one way or the other. The law, for example, distinguished senators, requires that ambassadors in this country, cabinet secretaries, be appointed by the president, but upon approval by the National Assembly. If the president were to forward names of cabinet secretaries to the National Assembly, then the National Assembly takes 1 year engaging the president in correspondence on those names without making a decision on them. Then eventually moves a motion to impeach the president for failure to appoint. That is malice in the extreme. I have reflected on the various categories of malice. I submit respectfully, this will fall into the category of malice of the highest order. This is a teaching aid in malice. It is inconceivable that there can be a higher grade of malice than this. You have been told that the governor has failed to implement the recommendations / resolutions of the county assembly. You are taken through the letter by the clerk claiming to be forwarding a resolution of the county assembly. In fact, that letter, when you look at it, it says that the Hansard is also enclosed. We have asked for that Hansard. We have asked for that resolution. Distinguished senators, it has not been presented to you. The question is, how will you impeach the governor on the strength of such an allegation? But more importantly for me, questions were put here to a number of witnesses to show who that report of the assembly of the committee of the assembly is addressed to. That report was addressed to the petitioners, not the governor. Who was that report copied to? That report was copied to the various officers who allegedly the petitioners had sought to be removed from office, one by one. That report was neither addressed to nor copied to the governor. But now you are told to make a finding that the governor failed to implement that report that was neither addressed to her nor copied to her. As a matter of fact, can we say that in accordance with the law, the County Assembly of Meru has established this fact? I repeat, it is not in my place to make that determination. It is in your place, distinguished senators, to make that determination. I invite you to make that determination with this factual matrix in your mind, so that you vote that in good conscience, a governor who is neither the addressee of a letter nor copied in the letter can be removed from office on an allegation of failure to implement the contents of that letter. Factual matters on the dismissal of Dr. Ntoiti, Paul Mwaki, Kenneth Kimathi Mbae, and Joseph Kathure Mberia have arisen in addition to the principal matters of pendency of court cases in them. Factual matters have arisen. To the factual question whether these people have been dismissed from office, the county executive SCAC in charge of public service has been here and has adduced evidence that these people, some of them, their contracts ran out by a fluxion of time. That a contract that has ended. Number two, you are told the governor never dismissed these people. Good people, distinguished senators, would have been easier than for the county assembly to present us with at least a sample dismissal letter of any of these people. The multiple volumes before you contain very many documents except anything in the name of a dismissal letter, even to prove that fact of an allegation of dismissal. You are going to make a decision this evening. I want you in good conscience to reflect on whether you can dismiss a governor for alleged dismissal of an employee without the dismissal letter before you, without an affidavit of that employee before you claiming to have been dismissed, and yet you are told, remove this governor from office. Correct. An allegation has been made that this governor deliberately and knowingly misled the public that 86 million shillings had been raised through pay bill number 247247, account number 04001639178999. First, let me contextualize that video. We had the opportunity to review that video, distinguished senators, and you are aware that other videos have been played to show just the amount of mud that was thrown at the senator, so at the governor, not by the family of the deceased, not by the wife of the deceased, but by persons, whether called activists or other leaders from Meru County. You listen to that clip and you have no doubt in your mind the governor is addressing those leaders who are throwing mud at her. I think that when I finally document the story of this governor, as I hope one day I'll get to do, she's the only leader who has been expected to have mud thrown at her with no corresponding right to respond. Because every time she responds, those very scurrilous attacks, she is brought here for impeachment. All of us had somebody claiming that a body of a deceased person would be placed in the home of the governor and to remain there, and if push comes to be brought to this Senate. How do we expect a fellow citizen not to respond? Human beings have an instinct of anger, have an instinct of shame, have an instinct of pride that is natural, normal human instinct. There's nothing inherently wrong in those human values. It's just the way God made us as human beings. And when the governor responds to those leaders, clearly saying those leaders must then support the deceased wife, build a house for her, buy her a car, start a foundation to support her children. I think, judged in context, that is a governor who is empathetic to this widow and who is calling for her to be assisted rather than being taken advantage of for political ends or possibly for business ends. I would want this particular charge to be understood in that context, distinguished senators. Ground number 3, at paragraph 8, an allegation is made of an alleged use of manual payroll. First, I think sufficient evidence has been laid here that this was an issue in the audit report. The county assembly is yet to consider that audit report and recommend appropriate action or seek answers from the county executive. Evidence has been laid to you that this governor inherited a government where manual payrolls were a systemic problem. In fact, she has finished that problem before this impeachment motion was filed. That is something I beseech you to keep at the back of your mind as you make a decision one way or the other on these proceedings. Evidence has been laid before you that the issue of manual register has appeared in audit reports in respect of an excess of more than 40 counties. What lesson do we learn from that? This may be a systemic government problem beyond Meru County, and therefore the proper interventions by legislative and oversight institutions such as this is to provide systemic solutions. What can we do to ensure that IPPD numbers of staff are processed much faster to conduce an environment where payrolls are run without the necessity to resort to manual payrolls as we wait for IPPD numbers? You will empathize with the governor that if her government were to keep kindergarten teachers without salary for 8 months pending processing of IPPD numbers by another government institution, that may as well be an unfair labor practice, which will also violate the Constitution. I have addressed the question of employing a bloated workforce. As a matter of fact, the governor has not employed a bloated workforce. As a matter of fact, this matter has been dealt before in a previous impeachment motion. As a matter of fact, evidence has been laid here of the governor's office rejecting other staff being sent to her office. I beseech you to keep that fact at the back of your mind as you make this decision. Finally, on the allegation of paying Kiambi Crispus Manyara, a public communications officer in the office of governor, full salary while in remand, distinguished senators, I want you in good conscience to make a decision whether governors pay staff. Just in the government organogram, whether a governor pays staff. The appointment letter of this particular staff shows that this is actually a staff of the County Public Service Board. That's the appointing authority, that's the disciplining authority. So that where a staff who is charged in court is supposed to be either suspended or interdicted and relevant communication made to the payroll team, that would be the function of the County Public Service Board, which is an independent board established as such under the County Government Act. To blame the governor for the failure or omission of an independent board, which if the governor sought to interfere with, that may as well be a ground of impeaching her, that will be putting this governor in a grave dilemma. We beseech you not to put this governor or any other governor in such a position of dilemma. The Supreme Court of Kenya, in the case of Sonko versus the County Assembly of Nairobi, set a principle, and I quote, though a political process, impeachment is sanctioned by the Constitution and the law, and it is not a platform to settle political scores. It is well within the rights of the governor to adduce evidence before you to show what political machinations are there, so that you can contextualize her allegations that these are processes to settle political scores. Make no mistake, distinguished senators, the governor has set out here. She is a leader like any other leader. She is subject to oversight like any other leader. She is subject to sanction like any other leader. But let it be fair oversight. Let it be fair sanction. Let it not be politically motivated sanction. A side issue has been raised here that this governor is waving a gender card. When the governor was brought here in September last year, she told you, this house, that she was a victim of misogyny. She didn't stop here. She played video clips here for you to see with your own senses, for you to hear with your own senses, for you to feel with your own senses. The decision was yours, and the Hansard of this house shows that even this senator was abhorred by the misogyny that was displayed in those videos. The governor is not creating a narrative of misogyny. The governor presented evidence of misogyny before this house. A narrative has been created here that this governor has been given 2 opportunities before. An impression being created that this governor was perhaps convicted and pardoned. Truth is, this governor has been acquitted on every other occasion that she has been brought here. And therefore, you can't blame her for whatever decision this Senate made based on the evidence that has been brought before the Senate. The case of Martin Nyaga Wambora before the Court of Appeal of Kenya set out the principle that allegations for removal of a governor must be serious, substantial, and weighty. Let's face it. If we want to look for technical infractions of law, that is easy. We can get a technical infraction of law on any officer in any office, on any citizen, wherever situate. The principle as enunciated by our court is that to remove a governor from office, the allegation must be serious, substantial, and weighty. And it's in this context that I understood the clarification sought. 5 minutes, thank you. The clarification as sought by Honorable Senator Kajwang as to whether labor disputes, employment disputes would form a basis of an impeachment motion. This institution of parliament has employees. I leave it to your own assessment as whether there are any employees that have ever taken this institution to court. What is sure is that there's an entire court called the Employment and Labor Relations Court, whose business is to resolve labor disputes every day. We don't create institutions for fun. That institution was created because there was an understanding that in our day-to-day lives, people are going to have labor disputes. And therefore, to use a labor dispute that is properly before a court of competent jurisdiction to remove a governor from office, that in and of itself does not pass the test of seriousness, substantiality, and weight. The Court of Appeal also established as a principle that a nexus must be drawn between the governor and the alleged gross violations of the Constitution or any law. So that where the County Public Service Board, for example, fails to interdict or suspend an employee who is charged in a court of law, it strains my imagination how anyone, within the most fertile imagination on earth, can create a nexus between that and the governor. I leave it to the distinguished house here to make a decision on that question. In conclusion, distinguished senators, I have been reflecting on the life and the times of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. In my other world, Mr. Speaker, I am a teacher, and I talk to my law students every day in a mentorship program, and I was telling them that in the fullness of time, when I am tasked to make my intellectual contributions on gender and the law, my writing will not be on the 2/3 gender principle. My writing will be on the struggle to sustain a woman governor in Meru County. It is difficult for me to imagine of any public official in this country who has been subjected to the trials and tribulations of this governor. This governor who stands here, I look at her and see either my elder sister or my mother. I can't imagine of a lesson in resilience than that is embodied in this woman who sits here before you as governor. I beseech you to have the weight of this submission in your conscience as you grapple with the principal issues, the evidentiary issues, and the factual issues that I have raised this evening. I beseech you to acquit this governor on each of the 3 counts. I rest the governor's final submissions.
Thank you, Counsel. Now, honorable senators, ladies and gentlemen, we will now pursuant to Rules 27 of the Rules of Procedure as contained in the third schedule of our standing orders, we will proceed to a camera session. And therefore, at this juncture, I'll ask the parties to withdraw from the chamber, the members of the public to withdraw from the chamber, and the media to cease live broadcast forthwith.
You know, I get allergic reactions to strong smells.
The first impression I got was that it had a really mild scent.
That's how I got stuck to these naturals.
Use Geisha Naturals for soft and glowing skin.
Tumekubaliana kwa mikono, kwa mikono. Asanteni sana. The secretary.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, you have confirmed that this gentleman is the Secretary General of Bas Party at the county level.
In fact, he stated the same himself in that clip.
And where was this event? What was taking place and who were in attendance, if you are aware?
It was held at Kinoru Stadium in Meru during requirements for the late sniper. Members of the county assembly were present. Other leaders from also the National Assembly were present, and members of the public.
What is your intervention? Certainly it cannot be a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, there was an inconsistency between the interpretation, the verbal, and the whatever we saw written on the screen, particularly within that clip that relates to bribe of the Senate. The interpreter did not mention bribe, but the transcript on the screen mentioned bribe. Could that be made clear, Mr. Speaker?
Can you play that clip again? And Mr. Interpreter.
Yes, sir.
You know the Meru language very well, yeah?
Yes, Mr. Speaker,
Okay,
sir.
give us the true translation.
All right, thank you. You can play to the very end. The very end, I think the last few seconds.
I'm very excited now that Maua is not paying cess or tax to the government. And they are not going to pay anymore. Even those metals should be sold like scrap metals. Those metals over there should be sold like scrap metals. And we are going to announce that there is nowhere that tax will be collected. To give out our money to go and bribe a Senate.
Thank you. We can pause there. I think for the sake of Honorable Kajwang, that is now clear. Mr. Witness,
Is it now clear, Senator for Homa Bay? You got it clearly?
In the first instance, the translator used the word to corrupt the Senate, In the second instance, he's used the word to bribe the Senate. Perhaps I leave it to the senators to confirm whether those are synonyms.
English and Meru sometimes can vary drastically.
Indeed, I can confirm that, my lord.
Proceed.
So, the gentleman is talking about selling some metals as scrap. What metals is he referring to?
It is the cess stand, which is used to collect revenue for the Meru County government.
So he's inciting members of the public, number one, not to pay revenue, and number two, to even destroy public property.
That is true.
That's true. And why is he telling them to do that?
He is alluding to the fact that the revenue collected by the county government of Meru is used to bribe the Senate during impeachment processes.
Thank you. Can we now watch VKM 18? From the beginning.
Tutatembea na hii familia kwa vyovyote vile Mungu akitujalia.
The body of Sniper is over there.
Viongozi tukishikana na hawa hakuna kitu tutashindwa, tutasaidia hii familia. So familia Sniper, personally mimi mwenyewe nitafanya maneno mimi mwenyewe, na pia wabunge tutasaidiana tuone hii familia imekaa vizuri. Na inaonekana mauaji yalifanyika na gavana wa Meru. Tunaomba gavana wa Meru leo na bwana wake wakamata leo. Mnakubaliana na mimi? Wasipomkamata leo, sisi wa Meru tutawasha moto Meru.
Sibasi tutoe sandaka tuweke hapo kwa Sniper. 247 then account number 07 ndero akiroi na cash.
For the one who has cash.
Na cash ya
those who got that cash should bring here
Bishop Waja, Bishop Rungama,
to the bishop here. Bishop, can you stand?
As a vote of thanks.
Get a place you can receive that cash. We go dropping that cash over there.
We can stop there for now. Mr. Witness, where and who are the people that we have just watched in that video so far?
That was also.
I did not appear at the County Assembly of Meru because there was a court issue with the impeachment, and I was afraid that I will go there and then it will be termed as contempt of court.
Thank you. You have talked about there being a court issue. Are you aware if the court had stopped the impeachment process at the county assembly level?
Thank you, Speaker. The court had issued a court order for the same.
And subsequent to the impeachment, did you take any action against the county assembly for disobeying court orders?
Yes, after they moved and they debated about the impeachment, I moved to court and sued for contempt of court.
Thank you. Subsequently, you wrote to the Speaker of this House informing him of the court processes and the orders that had been issued. Do you recall doing that?
Yes.
What was the date of that letter?
August 2024.
Thank you very much. Nevertheless, you're here today to answer to the charges. You have filed a response, the one that is dated 17th day of August 2024. Do you wish to stand by the response as adduced before the Senate?
Yes.
And all the affidavits attached therein?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to go specifically to the three charges. And I want you to guide me on any evidence that you have adduced, and if the same has been adduced by other witnesses, then you're free to state that indeed that issue has been addressed to your satisfaction. The first ground for impeachment is the ground of illegally revoking the appointment of one Virginia Kawira. Have you made a response to that allegation?
Yes.
You brought witnesses here to testify on that fact, and there was a serious controversy as to a legal opinion that you allegedly received that informed your revocation. I want you to specifically address that issue because all the other issues have been addressed, and I'll be very specific. Did you or did you not receive any advisory from your legal advisor, one Linda Keome?
Thank you, Speaker. I received advisory from the legal advisor. To be very specific, when we were here the last time, I was advised by this honorable house that I should go and do away with any, if there was any illegal appointment. And from that, I called my legal advisor and also the C. Waziri for Legal Affairs and Public Administration, and then I sought their advice about one Virginia Kawira.
Who was your legal advisor that you sought advice from?
Linda Keome.
Linda Keome appeared here yesterday and said that you have lifted her signatures from other documents and or you have forged her signature or used it without her consent and termed that advisory as a mediocre.
Hi, Bishop Kawira Mwangaza. Do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before the Senate in respect of the matters before the Senate shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Good evening, Madam Governor.
Even to you, Akili.
Thank you. You are appearing before the Senate for the third time, courtesy of the County Assembly of Meru, who seeks to have you removed from office by way of impeachment, and they have cited three main grounds for impeachment. One is that you were invited to appear before the County Assembly of Meru, but you did not. Could you explain to the Senate why you did not honor the summons at the County Assembly?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and Senators. I did not appear at the County Assembly of Meru because there was a court issue with the impeachment, and I was afraid that I will go there and then it will be termed as contempt of court.
Thank you. You have talked about there being a court issue. Are you aware if the court had stopped the impeachment process at the County Assembly level?
Thank you, Speaker. The court had issued a court order for the same.
And subsequent to the impeachment, did you take any action against the County Assembly for disobeying court orders?
Yes, after they moved and they debated about the impeachment, I moved to court and sued for contempt of court.
Thank you. Subsequently, you wrote to the Speaker of this House informing him of the court processes and the orders that had been issued. Do you recall doing that?
Yes.
What was the date of that letter?
August 2024.
Thank you very much. Nevertheless, you're here today to answer to the charges. You have filed a response, the one that is dated 17th day of August 2024. Do you wish to stand by the response as adduced before the Senate?
Yes.
And all the affidavits attached therein?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to go specifically to the 3 charges, and I want you to guide me on any evidence that you have adduced, and if the same has been adduced by other witnesses, then you're free to state that indeed that issue has been addressed